Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at setting up a fusion scenario that will trigger when a task status is changed to complete to update the project status to current. So that's going to be the use case we're looking at today, basically saying, okay, this project is in planning. As soon as the kickoff meeting is complete for us, for our process, that's when we're saying the project is going to be considered current. And so we want to just automate that so that whenever we mark this task complete, it will just automatically update that status for us. And this will be a pretty simple scenario. It really only requires two modules. So yeah, quite simple. But hopefully this is a good foundation and some groundwork that you can then take this and use for your specific use cases. Some examples may be instead of a task being the trigger, you could have it be a custom field on a custom form that is a trigger. Instead of changing the status, it's like a checkbox, or there's a lot of different options for what the trigger is, where that is. You could have that on a report, and then also what it's going to do. So instead of just changing the status on a project, it change other fields, right? But the basic concept will be the same. So let's dive in. So we'll go into Fusion and we'll start by creating a watch event module. We're going to add a new one and we'll call this kickoff meeting changed, just because that's the name of that task. I'm saying when that meeting is changed, or I'm actually going to say complete because specifically we're going to be looking at when it's marked complete. So we have our connection. Um, okay, our record type will be task. It will be new state, and we want to look at when the status is equal to complete, and we want to look at we're going to look at the template task ID. So we want to go get the template task ID of this task, right? So we're assuming, whenever a project is created from this template, it's going to have that same process where when this task is marked off, the project should be updated to current. So there's a couple ways we can get that template task ID. We could go into the template itself. So that's this template. We could go in here and we could click on this task and go up here to the URL. We would see there's the template task ID. Or a bit quicker, if we go back to the project, and you can just create a view. So I just have this view created where it's standard plus template task ID. I'll just click into that, and that just pulls up all my template task IDs right here in my project, so I don't have to click away. So let me just, oops, copy this and paste it over here. Okay, so that will make sure we're looking at that specific task. So status is complete. In this case, I'm going to exclude updates in this connection. So what this is looking at is this connection here. So right now this connection is me. So basically, whenever, so if I have this checked, whenever I'm the one that makes a change, it will exclude that. So in order for this to work, for me to show you and test this and not have to log into another user, I'll just exclude it. And then we'll just hit new and updated records. Really, we'll be pretty much just only updated records, but um, we'll just do new and updated just to make sure we're covered. Um, and just double checking that looks good. So let's save that. Yeah, and then I always like to do a little test just to make sure I set things up correctly. So I'm going to run this once. Let me go over here and let me change this to complete. Let's go back over here and give it a sec and see if it fires. Okay, there we go. So that just fired. Let's just double check. New state, status complete. Okay, so that's what we want. Okay, so now that we have that trigger working, so we have, you know, again, the trigger saying when that task is marked complete. And now we need to do the second step, which is change the status of the project. So I'm just going to put this back for now, and now let's add a new module. So again, we're going to be updating the status of the project. So this is going to be update a record. So we need the ID, right? So we need to pull in the specifically the project ID. So let's go over here and make sure we have it, which we do right there, project ID. Okay. Um, so if we go and look here, it should pull up right there, project ID. Record type, obviously this is going to be project. And then the field that we want to map is this the status, right? The project status. So let's go find the status field. Yeah, right there. So status, and we want to change the status to current, right? You could, again, depending on your specific use case, you could actually map this. So let's say, um, you're wanting to not always change it to one status. It was dependent on the different fields. You could actually map that. But anyways, for this case, we're just going to always change the current. So do that. We're not going to worry about attaching any custom forms. Um, hit OK. So that should update the status of the project. Let's just rename these. So I'm going to say kickoff meeting complete. That's what's going on here. This is going to need to be update project status. And then I'm going to do one more thing just as kind of a safety measure. I'm just going to add a filter here for the task status. So we're pulling, again, for that first module, we'll need the status field, that's it right there. So status is equal to complete. Basically, the way this is set up, it should only run automatically when the task is marked complete. If the task status is changed to in progress, for example, it shouldn't trigger. But we're just doing this as a safety measure so that if something were to happen, it were to trigger when the status wasn't marked complete, it was changed like, in progress or changed back to new or something. Um, that if it did fire, it would stop here and wouldn't go update that record or project. Okay, so yeah, like I said, those are the two modules. So now let's test it. So let's run it. We'll listen for new. Let's go over here and let's change this to complete. Okay, let's just look at this. So that ran, that ran. Let's go back here. Let's refresh and look. So now the status of the project is set to current. So that worked correctly. So yeah, like I said, this was a pretty simple, pretty straightforward fusion scenario in this case. Um, but again, this is a good foundation that you can use for creating more complex scenarios that have the same concept of, trigger, change, X, Y, Z. Yeah. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you have any questions or anything, please reach out, leave a comment, and I will catch you on the next video.